We all know and love Jurassic Park, don't we? 1993, directed by Steven Spielberg, made us believe in dinosaurs again, gave us groundbreaking visual effects, but also told a really great story also. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, one of Spielberg's best, and one of the best movies of the 90s. And with the new movie coming out next weekend, Jurassic World, I think it's time I take a look at the sequels that nobody really cares to talk about. So we're going to start with The Lost World, Jurassic Park, released in 1997, once again directed by Steven Spielberg and based off the Michael Crichton novel of the same name. Yes, for those who didn't know, Michael Crichton actually wrote a sequel to Jurassic Park called The Lost World, which I have read. I've read both of them. But I'm not going to be one of those guys that's going to say, oh, well, in the book they do this, in the movie they do this, because I feel like a movie should stand on its own and should not have to be compared to its source material. So The Lost World opens up on the island of Isla Sorna, which is located 87 miles northwest of Isla Nublar, the island from the first movie. A British family on a yacht cruise are on the island eating lunch when their daughter stumbles off a little further than she should have and is attacked and injured by a pack of Compsognathus, little chicken-sized dinosaurs. She isn't killed, but this incident results in Hammond losing his position as head of InGen. So Hammond now wants to send a team out to Isla Sorna to basically document the animals in their natural habitat, because this island used to be where they actually bred the dinosaurs and then moved to Isla Nublar, but since then the island's been abandoned, and the dinosaurs, despite the genetic structure of their DNA, they continue to thrive and live on their own rather than just drop dead. Because as Ian Malcolm once said, life finds a way. And Ian Malcolm happens to be one of the people on Hammond's expedition, which at first he refuses, but then he decides to go in once he finds out that the paleontologist is Sarah Harding, who is Malcolm's girlfriend. So as that group of people are on the island, there's another InGen team led by Hammond's nephew, Peter Ludlow, who wants to capture the dinosaurs and take them back to the mainland to an auditorium in San Diego called Jurassic Park San Diego. So through a series of events, the two teams meet each other and have to figure out a way to get off the island and basically survive. Now, this review is going to contain some spoilers because this movie is 18 years old, nearing 20. Lots of people have had their chance to see it, so you've been warned. This is actually the first PG-13 movie I ever saw. Yes, I didn't see the first Jurassic Park until after seeing The Lost World. And I didn't see The Lost World until my parents rented it from Blockbuster on VHS. I remember really liking it, but then once I saw Jurassic Park, liked that better. And as the years went by, I never really expected The Lost World to get the hate that it gets. Like, there are some people that say it's one of the top 5 or top 10 worst summer blockbusters out there, which that is incredibly harsh, I think, given the fact that over the years we've had stuff like Pearl Harbor, Alien vs. Predator, Transformers, the list goes on. So The Lost World, I think, is not even close to being even in the top 100 of worst movies of all time. In fact, I don't even think it's really a bad movie. I mean, yes, it doesn't hold a candle to Jurassic Park, and it does have some major flaws, which we'll get to in a minute, but I really think this is a good movie. Rather than feeling like a sequel just for the sake of making a sequel like Jaws 2, The Lost World Jurassic Park actually felt like it had a purpose of being made. Outside the fact that it's based off Michael Crichton's sequel to his novel Jurassic Park, this movie feels like a natural continuation and further explores the world of Jurassic Park and kind of the process that it took to make dinosaurs come to life. And in some ways, it's kind of a remake of The Lost World from 1925, which that movie was based off the novel written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, which basically centers around an isolated area filled with dinosaurs that a team of people go into and basically try to not get killed. And this movie's got a lot going for it. The action scenes are really well done, fun, and thrilling, especially the scenes where the T-Rexes push the trailer over the mobile lab, where you have Sarah Harding, played by Julianne Moore, on top of the glass that's over the cliff, and she's trying to slowly move without the glass breaking underneath her, or else she's going to fall to her death. And that's kind of nail-biting. You just watch that and go, oh, be careful, woman. There's also the scene with the raptors in the village, and then the scene that everyone likes to criticize, which is the T-Rex rampage in San Diego. I kind of like that because I'm a fan of those monster on the loose movies or scenes, and it further plays into the idea that this could be a remake of The Lost World from 1925, where in that movie an Apatosaurus is brought to London and wreaks havoc, same way the T-Rex is brought to San Diego and wreaks havoc. And I'll tell you this, that entire scene is a better Godzilla movie than the one Roland Emmerich made a year later. And speaking of the T-Rex, the special effects are still really good. The CG might not be as good or as appealing as the first Jurassic Park, but the animatronics have definitely gotten a lot better. I feel like the Jurassic Park movies are Stan Winston's best work in terms of animatronics, because these are real creatures that no longer exist, but they come to life in such a way that you don't even think they're animatronics. You look at any of these animatronic dinosaurs, and yes, there are a few parts in the movie where they're unconvincing, but you look at those animatronics and you think to yourself, no, those are not robots. Those are not machines. Those are real animals. That's a real T-Rex. That's a real Stegosaurus. That's a real Velociraptor. Those things come to life in such a magnificent way that it's really a bummer that practical effects are kind of dying out. But I'm not going to get into that whole rant. Probably the most impressive animatronic effects are the baby Stegosaurus, which Julianne Moore pets, because, yeah, it's like an E.T. moment pretty much, but like you can see it breathing, it moves so realistically that you, again, believe it's real. Then there's the animatronic compies that are attached to one of the guys that attack him, and they move around a lot. One of the compies even bites the guy's lip, and if that were CG, you would not have felt that impact. Because when you watch that little segment of the compy biting the guy's lip, you're just kind of like, oh! And when he rips off the compy, you're just like, oh, that's gotta hurt his lip! And then the baby T-Rex is really impressive. People are carrying it, it moves around constantly, it cries. It's a really impressive effect, and probably the best animatronic in the entire movie. Now, as I mentioned, the movie is not perfect at all. It has some big flaws, even though in the end I do enjoy the movie. While the actors do a really good job in the movie, Jeff Goldblum, Julianne Moore, Pete Postaway, even Vince Vaughn, most of the characters are kind of boring. The most interesting characters are Ian Malcolm and Sarah Harding because of their relationship together and how this adventure pretty much explores that. And Pete Postaway's character, Roland, who's a hunter, is pretty fascinating, I gotta say. But everyone else pretty much is the definition of a line in the movie that Pete Postaway says, which is movable feast. That's what everyone else is. They're pretty much expendable, and those guys you just want to see get eaten by the dinosaurs. And then the characters make a lot of stupid decisions. The team runs into the tall grass when they know they're near the village where the velociraptors live. And after being told twice, they still do it and get themselves killed. Then probably the dumbest move in the movie is when Vince Vaughn's character, Nick Van Owen, frees the baby T-Rex and then decides to take it to the mobile trailer because of that injured leg that I was telling you about. And it's like, why would you even do that if the last team injured the baby T-Rex's leg so it would lure the parents to them? Why would you take it up? It's really stupid. And I'm just, even me liking the movie, I'm just like, that is the dumbest decision anybody could make. But that dumb decision did lead to a pretty intense action scene involving the mobile lab. So, I don't know. I'm mixed about that part. But, I mean, there are other stupid moments that aren't caused by the characters. More like just dumb writing. Everyone points to the scene where Ian Malcolm's daughter uses gymnastics to kick a velociraptor out the window and save her dad. Which, the actual gymnastics, I'm just like, okay, that's dumb, but that's not my biggest problem with that scene. My biggest problem with that scene is when the velociraptor is kicked out the window, it's like stiff. You can see the wires holding onto it, and it just kind of floats out the window. And that's probably the only part in the movie where the animatronic effects don't work at all. Then there's stupid moments like, where's the crew? All over the place. And it's like the entire crew of this ship is killed, even though the only dinosaur on that ship is the male T-Rex, which is still in the cargo hold. It's like, how that should not be physically possible by any stretch of the imagination. And then there's a stupid thing involving the T-Rex knocking over a 76 ball in San Diego, which is just like, it's a dumb sight gag. I could probably let it pass. And it kind of did amuse me when both Ian Malcolm and Sarah Harding just looked at it like, so that I can kind of let slide. But yeah, those errors, I think, are pretty big flaws, but they're not big enough to take away from my enjoyment of the movie, because while the characters may be boring outside of the three that I mentioned, and while they may do stupid things, the dinosaurs are still fun to watch, the action scenes are still thrilling, and John Williams' score is actually very unique and different from the first Jurassic Park movie, which I really like. And that's ultimately what The Lost World is. It's a very different movie that feels like a natural continuation of the first movie. So I'd say it's good, but not great. It's not as awful as people are making it out to be, but again, it's not as good as the first Jurassic Park. I look at this like I do Son of Kong. Son of Kong came out after the original King Kong in 1933, and a lot of people hated it because they kind of tried to compare it to the original King Kong. And I feel like the same way as with The Lost World Jurassic Park. It's no masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a lot better than anyone says it actually is. And that's my review for The Lost World Jurassic Park. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie if you've seen it. What did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends, and this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one.